Of course, this is a selfish act, and it's characteristic of someone who's unwilling to reach their full potential. I completely understand that it might be painful to leave a toxic person who you love. Getting out of a toxic relationship is much easier said than done. That's why many stay put and entertain the negativity for as long as they can. But you're worth that temporary pain. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my lovely book club. So for those of you that have been following along, I am reading Good Vibes, Good Life by Vex King. And the reason I chose this book is I think it appeals to all ages, and every single one of us can learn something really great about this book. Now, this is a book club series, and this is number 6 in the series. So if you're listening to this video for the first time, the link to the complete series is in the comments box below the video, and you might want to go back and start at number 1. I'm doing this book club in nice little short bite sizes so that people can fit them into their busy days. If you've got more time, you can listen to several at once. If you haven't got much time, you can just listen to little snippets. And if there's ones that really resonate with you, you can, of course, go back and listen to them. So I hope many of you will buy this lovely book by Vex King, because I think it is really, really helpful to people. You can see I dip in and out of it all the time. There's some great words of wisdom there. But what I really love is how honestly Vex shares his own personal experiences as well. So last time I finished with the lovely meditation on page 74. And today we're starting on page 75, part 3, make yourself a priority. So let's get going. And as normal, I will be reading through Vex's book and making a few little comments of my own along the way. So part 3, make yourself a priority. Introduction. It's not selfish or a sign of weakness to distance yourself or walk away from those who constantly bring down your vibe. Life is about balance. It's about spreading kindness, but it's also about not letting anyone take that kindness away from you. Do you think it's selfish to put yourself first? Depending on the context, it can be selfish to think of yourself and not others. For example, if a pie is cut into 8 equal pieces and there are 8 hungry people in the room, it would be selfish of you to take 2 of the pieces. However, it's often important to put yourself first. You have a lot of energy to give, but you must save some of that energy for yourself. You came into this world alone, and you'll leave on your own. Your longest relationship in life is with yourself. Only when you manage this relationship well can you manage your relationships with others. Wow, that's potent, isn't it? You know, that is so true. The most important relationship we've got is with ourselves. How often do we treat that relationship as important as we treat with our other relationships with our friends, our families, our loved ones? Very interesting. Sadly, we must accept that even though someone means well, they may repeatedly inflict pain on our souls without considering the effect that their actions and words are having on us. Ideally, we want to be in a place where our mood doesn't shift because of someone else's behaviour. But only the most spiritually evolved among us are able to do this. To demonstrate unconditional, ongoing love in spite of others' actions towards them. Most of us still have a long way to go before we ascend into states of consciousness high enough to allow us to love all people without condition or expectation. If we're not spiritually evolved individuals, then constant interaction with toxic people can suck the energy out of us, which in time will make us feel drained. It's much easier to see the good in life when you are around positive people. That's so true, isn't it? I find that so much, it's really obvious sort of which people, which of your friends, your family, your interactions lift you up. And hopefully you're the type of person that other people find that you'll lift others up. I mean, of course, we can't be in that state all the time. It's give and take, and allowing us to feel the real feelings is what Vex covers a lot in this book, but it's a really good point, isn't it? I'll read that bit again. It's much easier to see the good in life when you're around positive people. Your personal growth is an ongoing process, and it can take a long time to get to a place where you're unaffected by others' behaviour. That's true, isn't it? So sometimes you have to cut out those people who continuously cut you. They're venomous and restrict your progress. After all, it's hard to function, not to mention crack a smile, when someone keeps feeding you poison. Think of a plant. If you keep it under toxic conditions, it can't grow and will soon start to wither. But under the right conditions, it will thrive and grow into something beautiful. Once it becomes big and strong, it's hard to destroy. People can be toxic too. A toxic person might be someone who criticizes everything you do, expects too much, lacks respect, shows very little support. They might ridicule, neglect, physically abuse, manipulate, and belittle you. These people are usually unwilling to confront their toxic actions and make change. So when you find yourself around people who are toxic towards you, your inner peace will be lost and you'll be more likely to pass on the pain this causes to others. This begs the question, is it selfish to think of ourselves here, or is it selfish of them to expect that we should be okay with it? Ending a toxic relationship can be incredibly difficult. It's hard to break free from those close to you, even if they're hurting you. But once you remove those people from your life, you make a way for a river of positivity to flow. You'll have time and space for introspection, healing, and growth. And like the plant, you too will become strong. It's so important, isn't it? I've personally been through that quite a lot over the last few years, and it's not something I find easy at all. We miss those relationships even when they have got bad sides to them. And also, I think when you're an empath, it's really can be quite challenging because you understand why people are behaving in a certain way, but that doesn't mean it's okay if it's a repeated pattern. Check your own behaviour. We want everyone else to stop being toxic, but we rarely review our own actions. The most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. So there's no excuse not to break free from your own toxic ways. So it's important that you can identify any toxic tendencies you might have and that are hurting others or yourself. When we're annoyed or upset, we assume that everyone around us is fine. We excuse ourselves for acting in unkind ways by blaming our mood, not realizing that other people might be going through a tough time themselves. This can bring other people down, which means that not only are you feeling hurt, but now someone else is too. Even those who believe that they're leading by example often forget to review their own actions, as demonstrated by an experience I've had myself. If you see my Instagram page, you'll know that I post quotes and advice. What you might not know is it's quite often my words are lifted by other social media pages and reposted as someone else's inspiring words. As flattering as it is to see my words and thoughts being shared by people, it's not satisfying to see my watermark being removed and no credit being given to me. So important, isn't it? I think that's really, if you steal from someone else, you're really stealing from yourself, and you can't expect that behavior not to come back to it. So always give credit where it's due. It's so important. Always review your behaviors and make an effort to change any that are toxic towards yourself or others. This isn't only how you'll grow, it's also an act of self-love. You're showing yourself that you deserve better than the behaviours limiting your progress. What really strikes me is there are a number of pages promoting positivity to huge audiences that have still refused to correct their mistake. When I reached out, the people behind these pages told me they didn't want to take the posts down and repost them correctly because they had great engagement on them and they'd lose followers. Some of these people have profited from my words, but still didn't feel the need to acknowledge my messages. One said that everyone else was doing it, so I should get over it. Among the most interesting responses was, "Let it go. Your name doesn't need to be on it. If you're a positive person, then you don't need to contact me ever again." This has led me to realize that even those who are doing the most preaching and appearing to promote positivity and love aren't always following their own advice. In truth, I did need to get over it, and once they refused to do anything about it, I had to focus on working selflessly. I've managed to overcome my disappointment and remind myself that the most important thing for me is that a positive message is getting out there. This is how I find my peace. However, this response exposed something that's very common in the world: shifting blame. We're quick to point out what's wrong with someone else so that we can avoid taking responsibility for our own actions. We could say that it's not our responsibility if others are offended by our actions. After all, it's only their perception and ideas around our actions that are actually hurting them. If I feel that I'm right, yet someone else feels that I'm wrong, who is right? I have this a lot. Obviously, those of you watching this on YouTube will know that my content is constantly stolen by pirate YouTube channels and reposted of their own and monetized and making money. And unfortunately, neither YouTube nor the people involved seem to have any qualms in letting that content up. So it is very frustrating. So I can really identify with this. But even when you think someone's overreacting, you must try to understand the root cause of why they feel the way they do. Usually it's because you violated one of their personal values. And if someone says they're hurt by your actions, you must believe they're hurt. You can't decide for them whether or not they felt the hurt in the first place. I've learnt this with my partner. Sometimes I take my jokes too far and cause offence. If she then bravely admits her vulnerability to me, the worst thing I can do is to make her feel bad for opening up to me by being defensive and shifting the blame onto her. You can't tell someone that their feelings are invalid. You have to try to seek understanding first. Identify why they feel the way they do, and then see what you can do to make it better. This is important for all relationships. We're all different, and we all deserve respect for our feelings. Acknowledging and understanding someone's pain not only allows you to learn about them, but also helps you grow. You're not expected to be flawless. We all make mistakes, but you must be willing to learn, grow, and remain respectful. Next chapter, page 85, the power of a good partner. Create a relationship where you talk to each other about your problems, not where you talk to each other on social media. Statuses don't fix relationship issues. Honest conversations do. I must say, I do find that really odd when I see partners conversing on social media. Very strange. Sometimes in relationships, one partner will punish the other due to their own insecurities. They make the other feel like they have flaws just to cover up their own limitations and to achieve a sense of superiority or authority. These relationships are often very unhealthy and toxic. They can make the one being punished question themselves and feel low or empty inside. For example, if you think your nose is too big and then you notice your partner being friendly with someone who you perceive as being attractive, you may notice their nose is smaller and draw a comparison. As you focus on the idea that their nose is better than yours, you may feel a rush of negative emotions, such as jealousy, doubt, and hatred. As a result, your self-worth, confidence, and energy decrease. Your mind may also suggest hideous ideas to you, such as your partner finding them attractive because their nose is perfect. You may then take your pain out on your partner, accusing them of flirting, even if it was completely innocent. You'll project your insecurity onto them and imply that they're malicious, they lack love, and they're disrespectful. This is emotional manipulation, where instead of taking responsibility for your own emotions, you take them out on someone else. You'll ensure your partner also feels your pain. You'll question their integrity and morals, trying to convince them that they're sinister. You'll point out everything that's wrong with them. This only leads to conflict, where even more insecurities may be exposed, damaging words exchanged, and potentially devastating actions produced. But you need to understand where your actions are coming from. Is it your insecurities, or because your partner has been acting in toxic ways? Ultimately, this ends in pain. Alternatively, your partner may have been genuinely flirting. In some relationships, this may be acceptable. In most, however, it won't be. Although you can't demand respect from someone, you can extract yourself from situations in which you're not respected. It's a really good point, isn't it? You know, when you're aware of something, then it does become a choice as to how much you're prepared to put up with. That said, there are plenty of healthy relationships that are full of insecurities, but they must contain mutual respect and support. Partners should be honest about their insecurities, open to working with each other to improve them, and respectful enough not to hurt the other or use their insecurities against them. All relationships require work. They require endless communication and tremendous understanding, and they can be very challenging. But while giving up isn't always the answer, sometimes you have to walk away, especially when you lose your sense of self. Sometimes you have to break away from the toxicity so you can heal. I think that's the case in lots of relationships, not just in romantic relationships. Unhealthy relationships drain all the goodness out of us. We give everything to someone who just won't match our efforts and willingness to try. We empty our love bank to make them feel wealthier, whilst we become broke. We give ourselves up to someone who doesn't respect us enough to treat us well in return. You don't have to be an expert to realize that relationships should be empowering. They shouldn't consistently make you feel limited or lacking. You should never be feeling empty in a relationship, especially if it's to make someone else feel full. Sometimes we love the idea of what someone could be or what someone is momentarily. We love their potential. In fact, if you reflect on your past with a serious ex-partner, there was probably a point where you thought they were the best thing ever. Later, you may have found out that they weren't quite what you expected them to be. None of us are perfect, so no relationship is perfect. But it's easy to fall into the trap of hanging on to people because you see their light and their potential to be a great partner. However, deep down, you know that you're clinging to false hope. If you're with someone who isn't willing to get better, you may be wasting your time. You can't change those who aren't ready to change. You also have to ensure that they're not pretending they want to get better. This tactic could be used to build false hope so that you stick around for longer. Of course, this is a selfish act, and it's characteristic of someone who's unwilling to reach their full potential. I completely understand that it might be painful to leave a toxic person who you love. Getting out of a toxic relationship is much easier said than done. That's why many stay put and entertain the negativity for as long as they can. But you're worth that temporary pain. Sometimes people will settle for inadequate relationships because they believe they won't find someone better, or that the task of finding someone new and rebuilding something from scratch is too long and too difficult. Their intuition will tell them that they deserve better, but they won't courageously act on it. Here's an example that might help you to figure out whether you're in a toxic relationship. Someone once asked for my opinion on their relationship. They were having problems with their partner and didn't know if they should walk away. I don't like telling people what they should do in their relationship because I'm not in it and I can't see the full picture. Someone can describe it to me and I can make assumptions, but the choice is ultimately theirs. Quick swig of my tea. No book club's complete without a cup of tea. So I flipped it around and asked this person what they advised their daughter to do if she were in the same position. This gave them pause for thought. I already knew what they thought they should be doing, but they needed me to justify it or talk them out of it. The decision scared them, so they were avoiding it. Yet when I asked this question, they realised they already knew the answer. As a parent, you have natural protective instincts over your child. Even if you don't have a child, you can probably imagine it. You care about them so much that you wouldn't want them to get hurt and miss out on any joy. This person's gut already had the answer, even before they asked for my advice. I always tell people to trust their instinct, because that's their soul whispering advice to them. You'll know it's your gut when you have a sense of almost knowing you've arrived at the answer without a reasoning process. We've talked so much about trusting our instinct. When we really start tuning into ourselves and admit what we're truly feeling, we don't need sort of complex explanations for it. We just need to go with that, because when we don't follow what our instinct's telling us, normally, unfortunately, it doesn't end well. When you think a certain thought, you'll get a strange little feeling in your belly, and that's what I believe is your intuition. It's one of the best guidance systems around. Even your most dominant thoughts aren't necessarily your intuition speaking, because they could be rooted in fear or desire. Intuition is a calm feeling and gives you a reassuring sense of detachment. Sometimes it will feel like something inside of you is urging you to take note. It's almost physical. Just remember, a relationship should add value to your life and bring you good vibes the majority of the time. Relationships that are toxic will deflate your psychological health and even your physical well-being. Don't be in a relationship for the sake of being in one. If it's time to say goodbye, be brave and do it. It might hurt now, but it will be the source of something greater in the future. Right, that's taken us to the end of page 91. So I'm going to leave it there so that for those of you that don't have much time, it's not too much to listen to. Now, I think there's so much wisdom in there. You'll know whether it resonates with you. You'll know how this appears to certain areas of your life. And as I said, this is talking about any relationship in your life, not just romantic relationships. And remember tuning into our intuition. It's like a muscle that we develop. The more we practice, the more we're aware of it, the easier and easier it gets to read the signs. So don't be afraid to practice it and look for feedback and course correct when needed. So I really hope you enjoyed that latest installment. I will be back for more. Please do let me know in the comments how you're enjoying this, what you think of it, what little tips you've got, and how this is rolling out in your life. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. My goal is to inspire as many people as I can to live their best lives, to stay curious and to raise their consciousness and that of the collective. So to do this, I need to reach as many people as possible, and this needs your help. If you feel drawn, would you be willing to share your favourite episode with 5 different people? This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. If you feel drawn to do that, I will be very, very grateful. All the links and discount codes where applicable for all the products that I support are on my 2 websites, catherineedwards.life and catherineedwardsacademy.com. All of the products are personally tried and tested by me, my family, and my clients. And finally, please do press the follow or subscribe button, depending which platform you're listening on. And above all, stay curious and stay free.